Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Thursday, July 17th. Getting this one made a little earlier than usual. It's only 7:12 at night, and this will be the video covering trades and holdings for the YieldMax weekly paying dividend funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income Fund. Funny thing, if you ever listen to the video or the interview where I talked about it or the interview I got it from, it's got nothing to do with tech. This is their crypto industry portfolio, but based on guidelines, your ETF has to say what kind of portfolio it's in, and since crypto isn't its own category, they had to add tech just to put it into a category. I'm sure that'll change in the near future. Reminder, I am on X. I let you know when videos are coming out. I also let you know about intraday trades if you follow my Roundhill videos. And that's about it. One thing I added, I've been asked a couple times, people wanting to support the channel about if I have one of those buy me a coffee links. So I created one. And the funny thing is, since I don't drink coffee, it said you could change it to anything. So I called it buy me a share. But no obligation whatsoever. Just people were asking, and I believe that they keep a much smaller percentage than YouTube does. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started on our information. Right, it was Dividend X day, so if you had ULTY or LFG, if you had it, purchased it by yesterday or sooner and owned it into today, you qualified for the 10 and 47 cent dividends. Here's the good news. After starting down 10 cents from the dividend, it made the 10 cents back. So basically you got your free dividend in ULTY and perfectly LFGY 47 cents. So both in the exact same day that it started lower by the amount it made it up. So talk about I forget what that word retire on dividends uses, about how long it takes them to recover. But how's 8 hours sound? All right, and the people at YieldMax apparently hate me, so they just keep on making a couple of hundred trades a day, so I can spend tons and tons of time behind the computer crunching all these numbers. That was all ULTY. And then here's all the LFGY. A lot of it's putting new money to work with ULTY, right? You guys keep buying into the fund like crazy. Me too. So we'll start with ULTY, everybody's favorite. ULTY underdogs, that's who we are. Put a lot of money to work, basically. And here's the other thing they hate me with, right? We just added United Airlines yesterday. I had to update all my formulas, add insert lines, change the formulas, and then the very next day we sold all the shares. So that was fun while it lasted. But everything else, we just put new money to work, putting roughly 5-6 million, sometimes 9 million into basically all the other holdings, almost all. Okay, now we get to the trades. We've basically got two different scenarios. If it's not highlighted, it was just putting new money to work, right? So if we got new shares, we need to sell new options to go along with those shares, because no shares get to sit around for a free ride. They're all getting put to work and getting calls sold off of them. ULTY is a collar strategy, so they're going to sell calls out of the money, and then they're going to buy puts out of the money, and those buying puts is what's protecting our NAV in the event these stocks drop. So that's why we love it, and that's why the NAV erosion stopped. Okay, so AAOI, just selling new options to go with the new shares, $51,000 profit. AMD, we don't own shares, we just have a spread that we've got going on. We closed out the 145s and 150s and for next week, and then we bought 150s and sold 165s for next week. So that was a nice win. Surprised they closed them out, right? These expire next Friday, and they still cost $11 to close those out. Of course, we made 15 on the other end, so it worked out in our favor. Overall, $684,000 profit. You can see it was roughly $1 million profit on the one we closed out, and then it cost us, well, maybe it was a little more than $1 million, and then it cost us about $320,000 to open the new position. So all we did was just bumped it up some. Okay, AppLovin closed out this week's trade, went ahead and rolled up and out to next week. So that's a debit. We lost $900,000. But the good thing is, right, even when we're losing, here's something else we're doing. We just increased our $300 put up to $330 and $335. So as the stock runs up, we move up our protection. So then if it starts to retrace, we start making money sooner. So we kind of lock in holding our value at the higher price. Costs money, but it works out. ASTS, or AST Space Mobile, closing out for this week, rolling to next week, $3.4 million loss. Stocks just keep on going up. It's okay. If we're losing the trades because the stocks are running up, that means we're increasing in value. Coinbase, same thing. I think yesterday we closed out about half of these shares that were in the money. We hoped that the other half would come down. Yeah, they didn't. They went up. So we closed out the other half. Rolled further than next week, out to August 1st, $900,000 loss. First Solar just selling new options to go with the new shares, $123,000 profit. Hood closing out for this week, rolling until August 1st. Now that's odd. Yeah, oh, never mind. Okay. Yep, rolling up and out, $358,000 loss. IonQ and LabU both just selling new options to go with the new shares, $128,000 and $77,000 profits. Mara closing out this week, rolling to next week, $270,000 loss. MicroStrategy, Nebius, I think it's called, Netflix and Oklo selling new options to go with the new shares, $23,000, $105,000, $68,000, and $95,000 profits, respectively. Palantir closing this week, rolling to next week, up and out, same thing. You're used to this story at this point. $445,000 loss. Reddit closing this week, rolling to so the closure we rolled out to August 1st, but then we also, since we bought new shares, we sold a separate collar for next week. Same strike we just closed this week. Yeah, so this wasn't a loss. We just called this a win, right? Because we paid 59 cents. We collected $7.59 on those. And then we also sold same strike price we just closed, but for the following week. And we upped our put from $125 to $131. All in all, $1.1 million profit. SMCI closing out this week, rolling the next week. It was a win, right? Paying 6 cents, collecting 84 cents, then selling some more shares to go along with selling new options to go with the new shares, 93 cents, $456,000 profit. SMR, that's New Scale Power, closing out this week for a loss, rolling to next week. $2.4 million loss on that one. We rolled these 44s all the way up to 51s and 52s. Tempest AI and Tesla both selling new options to go with the new shares, $50,000 and $30,000 profits. United Airlines, we sold our shares, so we had to close out our options that we had. That cost us $553,000. Upstart closing out this week, rolling the next week, taking a loss, not a terribly different, not as bad as some of these paying 15 and 20, but still a loss, $1.1 million. Vertiv Holdings, this is one of the debit call spreads, so the overall was a debit of $382,000, but if we break it down, it's broken down into a couple sections, and that is closing out this week's, right, selling the purchased calls and buying to close the short calls. That was a win, 289,000. Nothing major, but and then this is basically the buying into the debit spread for next week. So it's really not a loss because that's the money we are putting. We put $671,000 to work in this strategy. We will find out at the end of next week how it paid out. And then Vistra Corp selling new options to go with the new shares, $59,000 profit. So that totals us up to $7.6 million in losses. So it's obviously a trading profit and loss. It's a trading loss week. We can already see that coming. But just take a look at the value increases day by day. So after the biggest increase in history, dollar amount, I thought for sure we would have a pullback day. Instead, we followed it up with another monster. So let's take a look at how we got there. All right, if you want to pause or whatever, or look over here, your change in market value that can be attributed to each individual stock. I won't sit and read them. We'll just focus on how the options are doing. So Applied Optoelectronics, or AAOI, went up 1.5%. Their 31s are still 5.5% out of the money with 1 day to go. Not 5.5, 5.3. They've also got 30s out till next week that are just about 2% out of the money. AMD, right here, this got rolled. We just talked about that, so not worried about that after a 0.2% increase. But it was literally perfect, right? We bought the 145s, we sold the 160s, and they're actually for a whole nother week, so we could have let it keep going, but it was sitting at the perfect number anyway. Closed it out for the win. Apple Oven up 2.3%. They rolled the ones that were further in the money. They still have 913 contracts at $362.50 expiring tomorrow. They're 0.3% in the money. So where are we at? They are currently $1.28 in the money. So that'd be the minimum it will cost to close tomorrow. Obviously, it'll be more because of time value, and then it will fluctuate throughout the day. AST Space Mobile, the big gainer over here, up 9% plus. That caused them to roll all positions. So as you can see, right, there's a 6.6, almost $6.7 million increase in value attributed to today's increase in ASTS. And then you compare that to the loss we take is 3.4. So overall, that's why they're not too concerned about losing the trades when the stock runs up, because it still works out overall for the better. Coinbase up 3.15%. This was that one where they left half and then they rolled the other half because they kept on going even further. We still have 415s and 425s for expiring tomorrow. They're 1 and 3.5% out of the money. First Solar up 4%, went 2% and 0.6% in the money with these 170s and 172.50s. Realistically, so long as the stock comes back down under the 172.50 tomorrow, we'll end up having a win because there's basically 10 times as many contracts there. We also have 175s out till next week that are 0.8% out of the money. Robinhood up a little over 2%. Took these 102s further in the money. They rolled them. They still have 106 expiring tomorrow that are 0.5% out of the money. IonQ up just under 3%. 14,000 contracts at 44 are now 1.85% in the money. So they're going to need some pullback tomorrow to make those a win. LabU up 1.22%, still 1.28% out of the money with a day to go on those 68s. Mara Holdings up 2.73, took these 1950s in the money and they rolled them. They still have 20s expiring tomorrow, 19,000 contracts. They are just barely out of the money. Really, 3 cents. They're in the perfect spot if they just sat still for a perfect win. MicroStrategy down 1%. So it's a good thing they didn't roll these yesterday. because another day ticked away and they dropped in price, so it's going to be much cheaper so long as they don't have a big increase tomorrow. They're 1.4% in the money, and the 465s are 3% out of the money. Nebius Group, I keep saying it, I've never heard of them. 0.7% increase. 56s are 4.3% out of the money. Netflix, 1.9% increase, still 3.6% out of the money. All expiring tomorrow. Oklo up 4.3%. Took both their calls into the money, 66s and 67s. They took no action, though, so we're going to give it another day. 1.7 and 0.2% in the money. Palantir up over 2%. They rolled most of their positions here, but they still have 155s out till next week that are 0.6% out of the money, so they're going to be sweating that one all week. Reddit was the big loser. Say that, big 1.2% decrease. They actually rolled the ones that were further out of the money just to take a win. I'm curious. So let's see what a 1.2% decrease the day before does to it. It ended yesterday at 96. Did I miss it? It was 59 cents today to close it. Feel like they could have gave that one another day, but who am I? Rigetti, 3.5% increase, taking the 1650s further in the money. 20,000 contracts there, and 21,000 contracts at 17 are 0.8% in the money. Rigetti's been on a tear lately. We've been having to buy to close these and roll up, and we keep losing the roll ups too. Yeah, and we've already rolled these out to next week, and then the next week options are in the money already. SMCI down 0.88%. Brought the 53s back out of the money. The 56s got far enough out that they closed them and rolled them out till next week. SMR up a little over 1.5%. They were in the money and went even further. They rolled the two further in the money options. They kept the 46s expiring tomorrow, trying to scrap whatever they can do for one win, but they're 1.75% in the money. Tempest AI up 1.1%. 62s are still 2.2% out of the money with one trading day left. Tesla down 0.7%. Took these 322.50s just a little further out of the money, almost 1%. They've also got 330s that are 3.3%. We would like a flat day tomorrow so we could take a win on Tesla. United Airlines, we sold the shares. They didn't even find a seat. They just got here and they're already kicked out. So closed out the options. Upstart Holdings up 0.8%. They rolled everything. So Vertiv Holdings. This one was they didn't close everything, but they up over 4.5%. So what do we got? They bought 120s and then we sold 125s and 131s, and it's at 131. So it was another one where they just took advantage of it, basically being at the perfect spot anyway. Vistra Corp down 1.1%. Fortunately, we had swapped that debit spread. We cashed that out and turned it into a collar with these shares. So now we're okay with that little drop. 5.7% out of the money, but they're out till next week. So that's how we got to our total of $25 million increase on ULTY. There was a 7.3 million share increase yesterday. I would assume we're going to see another increase again today. A lot of people like to buy on X day, even though we didn't even really get a discount. Speaking of which, I got to give a shout out. See if I can find it in here. Come on. I hope I can find it. All right, I'll find it in a minute. I want to say it was TG Waste. think, yep, TG Waste. My wish is that you buy 1 share of ULTY with this. Thanks for everything you do. I did. I bought a share today. I actually meant to take a screenshot, but thank you. Thank you so much. Definitely not necessary. So very much appreciated. I did buy a share. I meant to take a screenshot so I could show it because I'm not going to pull up my account. I don't want my account number on the screen on the internet. But here we go. LFGY. Trades today. Sold a little bit of everything, right? Just in the, let's see, 63,000 is the lowest. I think I saw like a 343, 400,000 is the highest. So just selling a little bit of everything, trying to come up with money to pay us since they're losing money on the trades. They got to come up with money somehow. All right, BitDeer. Never mind. So we don't go over stock by stock within the fund because they make very little trades at a time, right? They might have thousands of contracts open and trade 8s and 10s and 3s. So we only do when a portion of it is a complete roll. So CleanSpark's the first one. Closed out there. I want to say, is CleanSpark a $14 stock? Yeah, 12, 14. Closed out those 14s for 5 cents, 4 cents, and 4 cents. Sold new for next week, 26 cents and 40 cents. Good job on that one. $110,000 profit. Now, just keep in mind, right, we just went from talking about did I close ULTY? Didn't mean to. There we go. So we went from talking about a $1.4 billion fund to talking about a $180 million fund. So obviously 100,000 here is a whole lot different than 100,000 over there. Keep that in mind. Core Scientific, closing out another win. I can't think straight right now. Okay, they're in the teens too. So they closed out their 15s. Just wasn't positive if that's 150 or if that was 15. Closed out their 15s for 4 and 8 cents. Selling 1450s next week for 20 something cents. $117,000 profit. Lots of little trades in between. And a lot of this will be closing out to go with the shares that they sold as well. Mercado Libre. This is a closeout and roll from this week to next week. $25,000 profit. NU Holdings closing out this week, paying 52 and 7. So the 52 was a loss, but the 7 was okay. Selling everything next week at the $14 price range, 30 and roughly 30 cents a share. Overall, $147,000 loss. Opera was a win, closing out for 5 and 3 cents, selling new for 45 and 32 cents. That's $132,000 profit. And I think, Riot's the last one. Closing out this week, rolling out to next week. Not bad, right? So had to roll up and out. Went from 1250 up to 14 and really only lost 18,000. Not terrible. All in all, I think it was a positive day, right? Yep, $214,000 to the good on our trading profit and loss. If you haven't seen earlier videos before, I do not count the purchasing or selling of shares in the option income, right? These are option income strategy funds. So the income from trading, I only consider options. If we considered these profits, we'd have to consider buying into the stock's losses, and that's not a loss if you give your money to LFGY and then they put it to work. It doesn't turn that into a loss. So that's why I do it that way. Might be right, might be wrong, but that's just what I do. Okay, so stock by stock, this one's a lot smaller, so we'll get through it quicker. 1.85% increase on BitDeer. They were basically at the money, and now they're at 1.8% in the money on these 1350s, expiring tomorrow. They didn't take any action. They've also got 15s out till next week that are 9% out of the money. CleanSpark up about 3.25%. They went ahead and rolled these for a win, even though it was an up day because they were still far enough out of the money. Next week's 1350s are 4% out of the money. Coinbase up 3.15%. Took these 400s, 2.62% in the money, but they did not take any action. Hoping for a down day, I guess. And they've got 425s for next week that are 3.5% out of the money. Core Scientific, the big loser over here today, 3.23%. They took a win on the further out of the money, and really the majority, 6,600 contracts compared to 300, so it's like 22 times as many. So we still have a little bit sitting over here, 7.6% out of the money. Circle Internet Group up 0.8%. Not sure what they're waiting on closing these, but 5.3% in the money on the majority of our contracts, 274 of them. We also have 252.50s. That sounds funny. $252.50 strikes for next week that are 7.4% out of the money. Galaxy Digital, the big winner over here, up 6.9%. They rolled these. Not sure why, but 2% in the money with a whole another week to go. Yeah, that one, I don't understand that move. GameStop up down 1.1%. I sold puts on them the other day, but 0.38% out of the money, so we actually needed that. It took these from in the money to back out of the money, helping us to get the win here hopefully tomorrow. Robinhood up 2%. We rolled them. They're only 1.4% out of the money. Did we make money on that Robinhood roll? Did I? Did I forget to? That was just my mistake. They did not roll them. I just didn't erase yesterday's change. Okay, that makes more sense now. They're 1.5% out of the money with 1 day to go. They didn't take any action. Hut 8 Corp down 0.5%. Still 0.5% in the money on these 22s. Not as big a deal. 250 contracts. There's 4,000 contracts that are 4% out of the money expiring tomorrow. iBet went down a little over 0.25%. No options, just the change in value. Mara Holdings up 2.73%. Still 5% out of the money on these 21s. With surprised we didn't close them out yesterday, being that they were 8 cents, but they probably increased in price now. Maybe not, being $1.03 out of the money with a day to go. So looking like a win, but I've jinxed us before. MBTX, we don't own any shares, so we just have 2 sets of spreads. First, we have a credit call spread, which is we want it to stay under 295. It dropped to 281.73, so that's looking good. 4.7% out of the money. Then we have a debit put spread. We want the price for these. Those first ones were for August 15th. These puts are for December 31st. So the stock needs to drop towards and beyond that 230 price to increase the value of our purchased put. We want that in the money for this trade to win. I don't know if we actually want MBTX dropping that much. Maybe you are invested in it. I'm not. Mercado Libre down 2.25%. We talked about it. They rolled basically everything for some reason except for this one contract here. MicroStrategy, actually, not for some reason. These are out till next week, and what they did when they rolled these is they put them all rolled into this strike price here. MicroStrategy down 1%. That helped because those were in the money. There still are 0.3%, but they got a little closer, a little cheaper, and another day went by. The 460s expiring also tomorrow, 1.9% out of the money. NU Holdings up 1%. They rolled the deeper in the money, large portion, 4,300 contracts. Took the loss on that one. We still have 14s expiring tomorrow that are practically. So for some reason, it was like $13.99. So it understands that that's a $13.99. That's why it's showing 0.04% out of the money as opposed to 0. But for some reason, it's not showing it. And then we also have 14s for next week. Obviously, same percentage out of the money. NVIDIA up almost 1%. Still 1.1% out of the money. These are out till next week, though, so no need to roll them tomorrow. Opera down 1.88%. We've got 20 sold for tomorrow and 20 sold for August 15th. We rolled the ones for tomorrow. They were far enough out. Yeah, as you can see, they ended yesterday costing 2.5 cents to close. So PayPal up 1.22%. Took these in the money by 1.1%, but no action was taken. Hoping for a pullback, or if nothing else, for that time decay. Worst case scenario, if they ended that way, ended tomorrow, that's roughly 86 cents. Riot Platforms up over 6%. They were practically at the money, jumped up 6% plus in the money. They rolled them. They left the 13s that are 2.5% in the money alone, and that's the bigger position. So hoping for a little bit of luck tomorrow. Either way, they're only 33 cents in the money, so I'm not sure what's a tip. Let's see, when we rolled Riot, what did we get for next week's? 37 cents. So if they stayed flat tomorrow, it would basically be like a break-even type trade. And then Block up 2.5%, still just barely out of the money, a quarter, expiring tomorrow. So that's a perfect spot. Sit right there. The reason we want to be up close to the money is because that means we got as much as we could value increase out of our shares. So obviously it's a little extra stressful though. All in all, that's how we came up with our $2.1 million increase. Yesterday, 150,000 more shares were purchased, getting close to 4.5 million. And we saw LFGY sitting at a great price. Really, if you've been in these guys as long as I've been making the videos here, your share value has increased, all while giving you 47 cents every week. So, all right, I got a dad joke for you. This one's pretty good. I like this one. But before I do, thank you, everybody. Appreciate everything. Likes, comments, shares. I like it when you guys join the live chat on the premieres and I get to talk to you. I wish I could get them out sooner sometimes because I don't like staying up that late, but it is what it is. So thank you, everybody. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider. Please share these videos with other people that are into these funds so they can get the information too. And if they're too long for you, don't watch the premiere. Watch it later. Put it on 1.5 or 2 times speed. I do that sometimes. But okay, dad joke of the day. How do you find Will Smith in the snow? You look for fresh prints. That's a good one. I like it. I'm giving that an A-, maybe a B+. All right. Good night, everybody. Good luck trading tomorrow, and looking forward to tomorrow's end of the week, see how we make out with everything. Don't forget to roll your trades if you're coming up on close tomorrow. Okay, have a good night.